amount of ignorance in this platform is huge. I'm happy with that. Insulin is a hormone, and as all hormones, send signals to other things in your body, the cell. Nowadays, people are eating way too many sugars, seed oils, and processed foods. And what happens is that our pancreas needs to secrete so much insulin, and it doesn't bond with the insulin receptor anymore. Your body will convert these sugars as body fat and as a small stores of sugar called glycogen. Yes, insulin is your fat storage hormone.
I simply just thought it was quite rude to call someone ignorant and then go on to make a lot of claims that aren't quite the truth. The first is the idea that too much insulin causes your cells to be resistant to insulin. What causes the cells to become insulin resistant is the accumulation of excessive amounts of fat within the cell. This excessive fat can actually block some of the proteins involved in insulin signaling, meaning that despite insulin still being able to bind to the receptor, the excessive fat inside of the cell stops the cell from responding by allowing glucose into the cell. And this excessive accumulation of fat is caused by an excessive amount of energy intake, whether it comes from carbohydrates, fatty acids, or protein. Additionally, while insulin does increase the storage of fat, it's not the only way that we can store fat. And she doesn't directly say that in this video. However, this video is quite striking.
How to eat how much you want without gaining weight. You need to manage your blood sugar and so your insulin.
In essence, she's led her followers to believe that they can eat as much food as they want, given that they do not increase their insulin levels. And this is due to the thought that the only way that we can store body fat is if we have high insulin levels induced by dietary carbohydrates. And if we never eat any carbohydrates and we only eat protein and fat, because we will never have an increase in insulin, we won't be able to store body fat. And unfortunately, this is blatantly incorrect. When we eat dietary fat, it's immediately packaged into what is called a chylomicron. This chylomicron contains triglycerides, and it immediately enters the bloodstream, in which it can react with a protein called lipoprotein lipase. This is a protein found on our adipose tissue and our muscle tissue that removes the triglycerides from the chylomicron and deposits the triglycerides inside of the adipose tissue and muscle tissue. As you can see, dietary fat does not require insulin to be stored as fat, which is why you can have extremely low insulin levels and still gain fat. Because while yes, insulin will store fat, the consumption of any food in general will increase fat storage and decrease fat breakdown. The last thing I'll mention is that it is true that on a high carbohydrate diet, one may use more glucose as energy and less fat as energy. However, they will also be storing much less fat. Whereas someone on a high fat diet may be using more fat as energy, but they will also be storing more fat. And at the end of the day, if they eat the same amount of energy in the form of calories, the storage or release of fat is the exact same. Again, the only reason I made this video is because I find it quite rude to call a follower ignorant, because they simply don't understand, while then making and promoting a lot of false claims claiming that you do understand. And if you want to learn how to take control of your health and energy, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.